It's recording right now.
Okay, cool. Okay. Okay. So let me go back to the recording. We have a quorum. The meeting started at 7:13 p.m. And I will ask Councilman Weil to give us a report from the City Council.
So since our last meeting, I know Missy Waldman came for me, but since our last meeting, we have been focusing a lot on the mission of this council. I mean, we've had a fabulous presentation about the PARC's strategic plan and where we are with the community center. And we've also been dealing with some of the upcoming developments. Last week, we had the pleasure of Congress member Cori Bush visiting with the City Council. We spent time at the City Center, and the professionals there on our staff made great presentations to her. One of which was Beverly Tucker Knight with Olivet Parks and Recreation. And then we went and visited two of the developments in the city of Olivet with her before she headed back to Washington, D.C. So things are moving and a grooving. And if you haven't been out down Olive Street Road to see the Olive Crossing, you can see the big sewers and the piles of dirt and rock, and things are happening. And I love driving by the Oliver, because every time you go by it, there's like more of the building is up. So it's exciting, and we're just moving forward. There's more coming. So just keep looking at, well, drive safely, but be sure to check out the road well as well. And even with the warm weather, I see a lot of people walking on our pathways and in our parks, and it's really been an exciting time. Are there any questions? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I do want to say one more thing. I do want to go on record that we extend our condolences to Mary Kay and Gopi San, who had lost their son. And I think the outpouring of love from the community and from this commission meant so much to them. And I know they were very touched because they've only lived in the community a couple of years. And I think that they've made a nice home in Olivet. And it was tragic, and just want to extend her our condolences on behalf of the council and the commission.
Yes, thank you. Any questions of Maxine? Beverly, are there any written communications?
No, we do not have any written communications.
Okay, do we have any other folks on the call that wish to address the commission?
We do not have any attendees.
Okay. We have two sets of minutes, one that we need to approve from the April 21st meeting. I forgot to bring them up at the last meeting, so I'm assuming that people have reviewed those, and the minutes of the May 19th, 2021 meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve.
These are the April minutes.
So moved.
Okay.
Do I hear a
I
second?
second.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let the record show that we have 4 affirmative votes.
Okay, and if you could please repeat for me, were you approving the April 21st minutes, or were you
Both.
approving
Both.
both on the same one?
Both on the same motion.
Both.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we will move on to the director's report. So Beverly, if you can.
Great. I'm going to pull that up if I can figure out how to do this. Okay. Here we go. So the first part of the director's report is, let me see if I can actually get this to where I can see it. There we go. Okay. The first, uh-oh, if I do that, you can't see it, correct? Let me bring that back. My apologies. Okay, so man. See, there we go. Okay, is everyone able to see this, or do I need to zoom in?
We can see it.
No, it's fine.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So the first part of the director's report is the personnel update, and introducing to you Corey Shovik, who you all just met. And Corey's first program that he's working on as he goes through the onboarding, and he's working very closely, learning all of the staff and our processes and our standard operating procedures. He's jumping right into bringing back our very first youth sport league post-pandemic, which is youth soccer. So I've asked him to give you an overview this evening of what he is planning for youth soccer. He's been working very closely with Dawn LaChance, our assistant director. And Corey, would you like to share your screen?
I just ended up printing something off. I felt like
Okay.
there wasn't very much on there and I didn't.
Oh, that's okay. That's
Yeah,
okay.
so-
What I'll do is I'll stop my screen share so that everybody can see everybody's faces. And if you would like to go over some key points for everyone of what's happening with soccer.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically from day one, Don and I have been talking about soccer, trying to get caught up with other areas that they're going to be starting their registrations this week, if not this week, early next week. So our registration, I started most of that today. All I have to do is go back in, enter a few things, and then I can start sending out emails, texts, all that stuff to residents to let them know that registration is open. So registration would be this week, and we'll have that run through July 23rd, with practices starting August 14th, and then games would be starting the weekend of September 11th. So registrations definitely will be up by the end of this week. I'm really hoping by tomorrow evening, we'll have those up. So what we're thinking is trying to mirror or match what Clayton is doing with theirs, just to give us some consistency on what everyone else is doing. The main thing is we may end up taking some of their kids. If they can't fill them in on teams, they may also end up taking some of our kids. So we're trying to mirror it as similar as possible. So with the team fees, if they want jerseys times, the team would give us their team roster and we would have them sign up individually. So individual cost would be $110 per kid, and that would be able to cover the jersey cost and then practice times. If they want to bring us a team and they don't want a jersey and they don't want any practice times, they'll do it on not on our facilities. It would just be a flat rate starting at $600, and that would go up as you get to each age group. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Like I said, what we're trying to do is stay as consistent with this as possible, match what other areas are kind of looking at and what they're doing. So if we have to take some of theirs or they take some of ours, there's not much of a change in all that.
Can I ask a question or?
Yeah.
How many participants do you anticipate?
Looking through like the last time, which we've been doing a lot of off of 2019's numbers,
Mhm.
and you're looking at probably close to 400, if not more, just because kids and parents are real eager to get back into sports. They're ready to start getting out and not having kids sitting around at home like they did last year. So we're kind of shooting for around the same, if not more, than what we had in 2019.
Yeah, and a follow-up to that would be, you mentioned mirroring Clayton. What is the situation with Creve Coeur or say Kirkwood or other ones, or Maryland Heights, in terms of how do they compare to what we've got here? I'm not sure what the demographics of our group is.
May have had a chance to talk to those guys a little more than I have.
So Don, you're welcome to answer that. While Don's getting ready, I can let you know that Creve Coeur does not offer youth soccer, but Don's ready. I'll let him talk.
Yeah, so Creve Coeur doesn't offer it. I've talked briefly with Kirkwood, but in talking, it kind of like, it was always a stumbling block because they can't start because of their Green Tree Festival at the same time that we can. They were going to try and overcome a big obstacle with that and get back with me, and they couldn't. And it was only really to reach out to those other cities that if we had an odd number of teams, that instead of the team having a bye that weekend, that we would send or get a team from one of the other cities so that it would, so the team would be able to play every week, and that it would make the shorter season with no buys versus a longer season with a team having a bye every week. So that's kind of where we were headed, and we already had a reciprocal with Clayton on field time that they need versus we need spots for our team. So it's just passing the hat back and forth with no money exchange.
Sure. And are the fees equivalent?
Yeah, they exactly match Clayton.
What do you think the mix will be of individuals versus teams?
Looking at, again, going off of 2019, the only thing that we have to go from, there seemed to be a large number of individual registrations versus the 8.
Yeah, there was 8. There were 8 total teams that signed up as teams.
Versus, all the other ones that we had that were individual registrations.
So of the 400, say 100 were from teams, or what's the size of a team?
Usually around 15. So
You had 8 teams.
10, 15?
Yeah.
So that's about 100. So
120. 120.
So about a quarter of them come from teams, and the rest are coming from regular, are coming in individually.
Yep.
And we think the draw will be for the individual is you'll get a jersey and you'll get practice time. We could have teams that come in and say, well, I still want a jersey and I want a practice time. Well, okay, that's fine. We need you to register as your team as individuals, and we'll give you, they need to put that this is, the coach. And that also plays right back into us that, okay, we have players that we need to put on the team. We can put players on the team if they sign up as individuals versus if they don't sign up as individuals. It's hard for us to say, hey, can you take this kid? And well, they have to get their jersey and all that. So it's kind of an easier fold for us to go, this route.
Right. Oftentimes the teams that come in as a block, as a team, are coming from a school. So they are able to practice at the school and they already have a jersey from their school, but they don't have a league to play in. So so that provides a nice option.
And I can just say, earlier today, I had a couple of people call in about wanting to put their teams in and asking us if we would take outside teams. I guess something with an issue with what Clayton was doing, they had a wait list already, or they were getting something like that. And I told them to back with me at the end of the week, early next week, and we would definitely take them.
And
Hey,
is
Don?
this,
Oh,
and
sorry.
is this, go ahead, Ed.
A question I have is one that I seem to remember from a previous conversation. How important is it, or how are we going about balancing skill level? I seem to remember that was a conversation that you sometimes can have these teams that come in and kind of act like this is their practice season before they do their select stuff, and then they just mow over everybody. Am I imagining that, or that was a conversation at some point? And I'm wondering, so where are we at with that philosophy or trying to change that dynamic?
Yeah. We definitely had that several years ago. That was definitely a problem. Over the last couple of years, our really young kids have been our really growth areas, the pre-K, K, first and second grade. And we tend not to see that there. As we get up into the third and fourth and older ages, we do see that. And that's something that actually Corey and Don have been working on how to structure it to prevent that and to put safeguards in place. And then also they are reformatting the coaches training, the coaches meeting to really re-emphasize what the purpose of the league is. So I'll let them answer more fully on that.
Yeah, and I don't want to step over Corey, but this is a recreational league. And if somebody's coming in for a purpose that's not that, we're going to tell it right away. And we're going to have a conversation with that coach. They either pull back or they pull out. I have a zero tolerance for teams to run up on other teams. It's the kids that are playing that are running up the score are not learning. Yeah, they're getting a goal or they're scoring and they never get to, but they're not learning. I've coached soccer for many years. I've been involved with soccer for many years. You learn nothing in any sport if you're the team running up the score, just as much as the team that's getting run on doesn't learn. So number one rule right off the bat is every player needs to play. This is a recreational league. You know, that's we're going to drive that number one, the very first rule right out of the box, right out of the get-go. And if that's not what a team wants, there is a place for them to play, and it costs $1,000 and they get 10 games a year. And they're more than welcome to go and play in that St. Louis Youth Soccer Association League. That's for club teams. This is not for club. This is for recreation. We have to keep recreation because club sports is killing recreational sports, because club sports is adopting the philosophy of if you've got a pocketbook and you can pay, you can play. And there are teams out there that are rec teams to beat, and they're not club teams. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now.
So how
So
do you know those coaches, and do you refuse to bring those folks in?
I mean, I don't personally know the coaches, but I can tell if a team comes in, I'm going to research their league. I'm going to research their team. You know, if a team comes in that we have no clue who they are, and it doesn't seem like any of the players are residents, and that's not even, you know, because we have a lot of non-residents. But if I notice that, you know, we see something that says STLG, well, I know that's St. Louis Gallagher. You know, if I see something that says Ajax, I know that's a soccer club my kid plays for. I know the club name, and if not, I know a database that I can go to and I can look at it.
Okay.
So that's the good thing with us. Me being a club soccer coach, and I know that sounds hypocritical that I'm a club soccer coach and I'm complaining about club soccer, but my kid plays at a higher level than what recreational is. But there's clubs that have teams at what is considered Division 9 that shouldn't be playing or paying that much money. But I've got access to a database that I can look up teams. I can even look up coaches. So
Okay.
I'm not going to say that's not going to happen, because it can't. Especially if we get a coach that says, I need to avoid this, and this, then I know that they're in the slice league and they're playing too.
Don, I really appreciate what you're saying. Thank you very much for that. Are there any in-game changes? For instance, certain scores trigger a player coming off the field from the other team. Are there any things that kind of help kind of even things out? Or is it pretty much just, we'll just kind of keep an eye on the teams? And because I mean, a team could still be legit and still be dominating.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we still have to allow for that, but I mean, I like what you're saying, and I'll just leave it at that. And thank you. I'm sure you're thinking about it more than I am, but having had a daughter go through what you experienced for 3 years and never winning a game, and every
Right.
game being 10-0,
Yeah,
it's
no
absolutely
fun.
demoralizing, and
Right.
she's never touched a soccer ball since. So
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we've talked to Clayton about how, we don't want to institute a mercy rule because nobody wins with the mercy rule, because the team that's running up the score, they're out of there faster. And the team that gets the score run on them, well, they still want, 30 more minutes of a game. So we've been in contact with Clayton. I have some thoughts and some suggestions that, it could be something as easy as you go up by 5 goals, the score flip. You're now not up by 5 goals, you're now down by 5 goals. Because in the end, we don't keep scores, we don't keep standings. This is recreational soccer. If you've come here to win a medal, please take your team elsewhere. And I'll give you the medal at the start of the season, and you don't have to ever show up. Your team got a medal. Congratulations. You beat everybody.
And then to kind of bounce off that, I've pulled up all the past rules that I could find in the files when I took the job and I knew soccer was getting ready to start. I do plan on doing a full dive into those, kind of seeing if they're outdated or if I need to make suggestions to Clayton on, hey, we should really look into this. And again, we're trying to be as fun as possible. If there's nothing in the rules that I go through about a mercy rule, I will, and I know Don will help me, and we'll make sure that we get something in there. Because one, we're trying to keep kids interested, and we want kids to keep coming back through our programs. And if they keep going and they're getting stomped out every game, that's not fun for them. They're not going to want to come back. And then now we're starting all over again, trying to get kids back interested into the programs. So I'll do a full dive into those rules, and we'll look over them and add or take out whatever we need to.
Right.
Other questions that people have?
I had a question about coaching in general, not necessarily about the, I appreciate what you said about ensuring that this stays a recreational league, but my question was about making sure that we have coaches for those individual registrants. Is there any concern around being able to ensure that we have enough coaches?
So what Clayton has done, and I just looked on their registration sheet that they have on their website, they do reimburse head coaches their full registration fee. And then they also give one assistant coach 50% off of the registration costs. I had it wrote down. I think that's kind of what we were leaning towards, just to make sure that we did have enough coaches. I did think the assistant coach was kind of steep on giving 50%, but I hadn't quite thought about the assistant coach. My main thing was just making sure that we had enough head coaches to start.
We did implement the 100% fee waiver for coaches several years ago when Brittany Moore was the recreation coordinator, at a time when we were very, very short on coaches, and it had a dramatic impact. We did receive a lot more coaches after that. So over the years, it tapered back to 50% for the head coach, 25% for the assistant coach. However, coming out of the pandemic, I am concerned. I share your concern, Keisha, that we may not have enough coaches. We just don't know. We've lost that momentum of having a whole year off. So I am thinking that we should go back to that incentive program until we have a better understanding of where we stand.
And help me with the fees, because I'm new to this. When you say, do the coaches, in addition to the team members, pay to be part of the league? Is that how it works, or what is this reimbursement for?
It's reimbursed because typically the coach is actually a parent on the team. So that means that a coach that's coaching their child, then the child's fee is waived.
Yeah, it would
Okay,
be
so
an individual.
The 110
not a
goes
team.
back. Okay.
Right.
Right. And we do run into situations where a coach will say, well, I have 2 kids, and we can't do it for 2 kids unless they coach 2 separate teams. That's a different story.
Right.
And do we have any process where we can provide scholarships to kids that may otherwise
We
not
do.
be able to?
We do it the same way we do summer camp. It's not a scholarship, it's a fee waiver. So anyone that is in the free or reduced lunch program in the school gets an automatic discount. So if you are on a free lunch program, you get 50% off the fee. And if you're on reduced lunch program, you get 25% off the fee. And then we do not require any proof of income. We simply ask for their the letter from the school that enrolls them in the lunch program, because we
Okay.
really want to keep as much dignity as we can for everyone involved, and I don't want the staff having to request financial documents and all of that. We do we sometimes struggle a little bit with the super young kids that aren't in school yet. So then we just ask if you're receiving WIC or anything else, you automatically get it. There have been times when we've waived 100% of the fee based on what the documentation people have provided, because sometimes we know when a family has a certain number of kids and we know what the assistances we're getting, we know that they're pretty low as you could be on the income level. And we'd much rather a child got to participate than didn't because of that. And then we track that so we can give a report on how many it's been, but we, of course, never attach names to it. And we never tell coaches who's getting the discount or not. What's interesting is we get a lot of requests for camp, but we very rarely actually get real requests for the sports program. And I don't know if it's because it's over a longer period of time, and so it's less money, or I don't know why. But we do put out there that it's available.
Do we have any program where are there programs where we can help provide equipment? Because sometimes if a kid doesn't have the shoes, they might not want to
Right.
come in. I don't know whether there's in the community, if there's programs that help that.
Yeah, we've looked for that. I know that where I came from, there was a rec department that started a fund that all the other departments went into, where either a voucher for cleats or an actual pair of cleats was given. There was a big sharing program that was done, but I'm not as familiar with anything like that in the region. But we have loaned and given old equipment to other agencies like Matthew Sticky's. So I would have no hesitancy to ask them if we knew of need for them to help us back in a reciprocal manner.
Yeah, and I've got a great connection with the St. Louis Youth Sports Alliance, which is based out of St. Anne.
Yes.
And basically they have a program that if you bring in a pair of shoes, or you bring in a glove that doesn't fit, you can you hand one in and you get to pick one out. And it's a great not-for-profit organization that had a lot of success, and they were even featured on Micro's Pay It Forward. So Bill is a great guy. I've met him in person. And when I was at Kirkwood, I gave him 40 footballs because punt, pass, and kick was no more. So I think it's one of those things that if we foster a great relationship with places like that, that if I ever needed something, we could surely go out for it, if ever asked for a piece of equipment. But my goal is with these sports, I'd like to get it so that we give every kid a soccer ball for the league. We give every kid a basketball for the league, a baseball for the league. That way they have something to play without having the crutch of, well, I don't have a ball at home. So it may not be this year, but I want to get that goal. I got it at Kirkwood, and we'll stretch the ends of the earth to get it to happen.
Yeah. We're definitely working on that when we put the shirts out to bid, because oftentimes when we do our uniforms, it comes as a package of a shirt, the shorts, and the socks. And those are the hardest parts for us to organize. The shirt's the easiest thing sizing wise, but when it comes to the shorts, it really is a problem, and it becomes problematic. And a lot of kids don't like wearing those shorts. They'd rather wear ones that they like and they're comfortable in. So if we're able to swap that out, and get the balls in instead, then I think that's fantastic. So when the RFP goes out for the sports uniforms, there'll be an add-on for the balls in there. And then Don can also do a separate RFP for balls, because there are ways we can get, pretty affordable ones. So hopefully we'll be able to do that sooner rather than later.
I have a couple of follow-up questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
You were mentioning you don't know why. So the number of families that take advantage of the fee waiver for camps, would you expect it to be similar for the sports? Or is this the same clientele? So the kids that are in the camp, are they also the ones that are doing the sports? So then what would you say, or I mean, so you were saying that very few people take advantage of the fee waiver. Are they the same families?
Well, that's a really good point. And it could also be because we have more non-residents in the sports than we do, camps, we have more residents and less non-residents. And you have to be in the Ladue district for us right now to do that, and all of it resident. So that could very well be, that could be the difference right there, is the difference between resident and non-resident.
So is there any move, because I'm always interested in the why, of course. And, we can jump and make assumptions that it's equipment, that is this or that, but is there any chance that we could do I hate to say the word, but a little survey of the people going to camp and asking if they're interested in, do they participate in recreational sports? And I don't know.
Yes, we absolutely can do that, because we survey the kids as they come out anyway. We can just add that saying, hey, what are other programs you're interested in?
Okay. And would you be interested in this, and what would it take? Or I don't know, because it seems to me that that's another key thing. And I don't know what the balance is, how diverse the sports program is. I don't know. I have no knowledge of that, but I definitely think when you said that very few fee waivers are being asked compared to the camps, that makes me wonder if maybe we need to ask some more questions.
Right. We need to find the barriers, see if we can identify what the barriers are, if there are any, or what. Yeah, absolutely.
And another follow-up, what's the male, female participation levels in the program?
In the sports program?
Soccer program.
Everything's co-ed until it gets to a certain age point, and I have not specifically tracked male female data.
Yeah, and even looking through everything, I didn't think of looking at the differences between each numbers. That's definitely something that I probably could do, since I have been going back and looking at a lot of 2019 stuff to kind of compare. That's definitely something I can look into.
And even if we haven't, as we can look at that moving forward, so that we can make sure that we've got an inclusive program.
Good idea.
Are there any other questions on soccer, and are there any more personnel updates?
We do. We have a couple more personnel updates. I really want to thank Corey and Don. Pardon me?
Time out. Does anybody have anything else on soccer? I didn't realize there was other. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, great. Well, at first I really want to thank Corey for coming on tonight, because not only did he get to meet the commission, but he also had to give a report 1 week in on the job. So I greatly appreciate that.
And thank you, Corey.
Okay. I am going to go to share screen, and then Corey, you are welcome to stay on for the rest of the meeting, or you also are welcome to have, an evening on your own too. It's your choice what you'd like to do.
And there's nothing else you guys would need from me or anything. I'd
Good
hate
night,
to get off. I'd hate to
Corey.
get off of here and then something come up that you guys really truly need me for something. So,
Oh yeah, well, if we truly need you, Corey, we will call you.
all right, that sounds good. I can do that then.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, so can everyone see my screen again?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we had interviews today for the vacant sports specialist position. Some of you may remember that before the pandemic shutdown, we had Monica Mwanga-Pili was our sports specialist. And in the course of the pandemic, Monica got married. And then just the other day, she gave birth to twins. So she decided that she probably didn't want to continue in the sports specialist position right now. So when she let us know a couple weeks ago, we advertised, and then today the Dawn and Corey interviewed a candidate, and an offer is being made. I can't release the name until that person accepts. And then next week we have interviews for limited equipment operator, and then also for the seasonal horticulturalist assistant position. So it's a big time for personnel going on right now. So it's very exciting. Then the yard sale, we had 50 households participate over the 2 days, 19 on one day, 31 on the other. I did not cross-reference to see how many of those were double dippers. As people have been returning their yard signs, we've heard pretty good reports, although everybody commented on how hot it was, and everyone felt that some of the traffic was down because of the heat. Then the baseball clinic kicked off, and man, oh man, are these adorable pictures or what? It was something to see out there. It was so cute. I know we got to see a little bit of it. We were finishing up the Stacy PARC schematic design walkthrough, and got to see a little bit. They were so tiny and so cute. It was adorable. So the clinic that was originally 2 nights was folded into Tuesday night, and then Tuesday night ended up being more popular than Monday night. So anybody that could transfer over did, and then we refunded the people that were unable to transfer over. And then Camp O this year, we have something fun going on. Megan has implemented an Instagram account that's private just for camp parents. So throughout the week, she posts up pictures of activities in the camp. She really wanted a chance for parents to see what was going on inside the camp, because we're still doing the contactless drop off with the cars. So no parents are coming into the building or getting to see what's going on. So I thought that was a nice innovation for her to do. So here's a couple little shots of what she's doing. It's been a nice summer. It's been super hot. We've already had 2 water days with the fire department, which is always a very huge hit. Park operations. So, you all remember the situation we're in with the Greenwood Group, our mowing contractor, being 27 positions short because of the current staffing shortages going around. They informed us they are not going to be fully staffed until the late fall. And we really are struggling with that because so much time on the mowers by our park staff. So we enacted an emergency hardship, and we opened up the contract and contacted Vote Lawn Care, who was our previous vendor, and they agreed to come back and take over Stacy. So on Mondays, they had their first Monday this week. They're mowing Stacy. It's our premier park. It was really starting to look pretty bad, and already we're seeing an improvement. So I'm very appreciative that the city manager allowed us to do that. And that means now is Greenwood was able to redirect their resources and pick up some of the other areas. So there's less time that Leonard and Merle have to be out on the mowers. So I'm very excited. They've already gone out in the time they've been saving and painted the drinking fountain, and they're starting to catch up on a lot of our backlog of things. So we're very pleased about that.
Beverly,
Yes.
I know that we had some difficulty with Vote, and was one of the reasons that we went to the Greenwood Group. Have we addressed those issues, or was?
No, we did not have difficulty with Vote. We really liked Vote, but they were far more expensive. Greenwood Group really underbid them when we did the
Okay.
bid. Yeah, no, the predecessors to Vote, the Black Creek Landscaping is the one that was horrific, and we won't go back to them.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, Vote's very good. Okay, Party in the Park. This is huge. We are bringing Party in the Park back. It's scheduled for Friday, September 10th. Pretty much the only day in September that is not a high holy day. So it's very exciting. Vote for Pedro was the band that we contracted with for the city's 90th anniversary Party in the Park version. We worked with the vendor. They allowed us to roll it over another year. So thankfully we don't have to expend any more money. So we're very excited. We'll start building more activities around that, bringing in food vendors. We're very, very excited. So I hope you all put that in red pen, solid felt marker on your paper calendars and in your Outlook, that it's going to be fantastic.
Will that be at Stacy?
It will be at Stacy. Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Then another big thing that we've been trying to do forever is have an e-waste shred drug drop-off day on a Sunday. Every year we have it on a Saturday, and every year we exclude a large section of our population. And we can never find a vendor to do the shredding or the e-waste pickup on a Sunday. So had a brainwave, what about an evening? So this year it'll be on a Thursday night at Stacy Park, because last year it was so popular, it backed up the traffic all the way onto Olive. So we're moving it away from the city center, but we'll be having it from 4 to 7 on a Thursday night. So I'm very, very excited about that. So I think that that is going to be much more inclusive and allow more participation across the community. Then another new thing we're doing is following, you all have remembered Stephanie Todd. So Stephanie Todd, as well as Judy, trying to remember Judy's last name, who lives around here by the corner. These are two families that were able to trap foxes this year that had mange and were very, very ill. And they had a phenomenal success rate of having them treated and then re-released. And a lot of times people call because they find injured wildlife and they don't know what to do. So we wrote an article about that was in the Olivet Life. You probably saw it, and has these amazing pictures. So here is little sick fox when he was first picked up, or sorry, when she was first picked up. You can see it was completely bald on the back end. What happens when they get to this stage, they very quickly die. So within a couple of weeks, you can see how much better she looked. So that was on December 18th, so was that first picture. January 3rd, her hair is starting to grow back in. And then this is amazing. This picture was right before she was moved from the indoor pen to the outdoor pen. And then they have this technical term they call fluffing up, where they keep them in the outside pen until they've got enough fur to survive in the wild, and then they're re-released. So based on that, we're going to do we're hosting a supply drive for the Wildlife Rescue Center on their most needed supplies. We're going to collect them at the community center. It's also coinciding with Animal Week in the camp. So the camp kids will learn a lot about animals and rescued animals. This was a big for them last summer. The camp found a baby robin that they actually rescued, and the staff took over to the bird rescue center. So it became quite an educational moment. So we're bringing that back into camp. In your report here, you can see there's a list of the most needed supplies. We'll be pushing that out through social media over the next couple of days. And then Stephanie Todd's going to take everything out to the Wildlife Center for us. So we're pretty excited about that. I think it's pretty nice. So that's my director's report.
Okay, any questions of Bev? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to the next item, which is the vector control program. I know we had a presentation last time. Do you have some follow-up information on that, don't you?
I do. I have, uh-oh, my screen sharing stopped. Hang on. I do. I have follow-up information. Well, I'll share in just a second. I have follow-up information. So I reached out to Vector Control, and I've been emailing. Well, first of all, they are not going to fog any of the city parks. That was easy. I gave the city manager a heads up that this was something that the commission was talking about, and she thought that the council probably would be very, very interested in everything that that the commission has been learning and talking about. And because the hours that we receive of fogging are so little, she really thought that it would be an easy decision for the council to make when they're presented with all of the information and the safeguards. So I've then reached out to the gentleman in charge of the larvicide program to find out, where are they using larvicide in our parks? That was one of the questions that the commission asked of me to find out. So it turns out that they are doing larvicide at Stacy Park outside of the fence line along Warson, where the storm drain is. They regularly go out and apply the granules out there. And that's a great spot because we do know that that holds water. So since then, I've identified several other places in the park and sent it to their investigator for him to go out and check. And of course, it's been so dry that the first place he went was Watsonia, which is the area we mow off Watsonia Court, where we have standing water frequently. He didn't find any standing water, but just a couple yards down in the area we don't mow, he found another hot spot, and he's now treating larvicide in there. So he's also going to check Napoleon, the section of Napoleon Indian Meadows Park that we know is wet year round. So we're working with him on that. So the implication of that, however, is we might pay a little bit more for larvicide, but I think that's okay. So what I did was I wrote something for you, and it's based basically on the minutes of Gene Ponzi's report. So I'll share it with you here. So bear with me because I can't see the screen. So what I'm recommending is that that the city, that for your consideration, if this is something you're interested in doing, to follow up with your comments last time, is that for the city council to continue the mosquito larvicide program with St. Louis County and suspend insect fogging unless warranted. So that's what we heard about from Gene Ponzi about in Brentwood. They still test and they monitor, and if they find mosquitoes that have Zika or West Nile, then they do fog in that area. But in the other instances, they use larvicide only and not the regular fogging. So on the report, what I wrote is that following a resident request during the April meeting regarding ceasing fogging for mosquitoes in city parks, Gene Ponzi, Green Resources Manager at the Missouri Botanical Garden, gave a presentation on mosquitoes. The in-depth presentation covered mosquito life cycle, habitat, infectious disease transmission, effective abatement methods, St. Louis County vector control process, and public education. Mosquitoes are vectors of infectious disease. The most effective controls are, and then I listed out the ones that Gene gave in the presentation: eliminating places for them to breed, testing the mosquito population for disease, using larvicide to prevent young mosquitoes reaching adulthood, educating residents on how to effectively eliminate mosquito breeding sites on their own properties, and effective control methods. And air fogging is the least effective method of control. It kills all flying insects, even beneficial ones, and only works for that moment in time. It does not kill the young emerging as adults as soon as the next day. Fogging is considered effective when a specific disease has been identified in a specific area. Gene Ponzi volunteered to provide additional information presentations to the city council and for the public. In the last fiscal year, under the city's contract with St. Louis County Vector Control, the city received 20 hours of larvicide application and 6 hours of fogging and a half-hour of rodent eradication education requested by a resident. Therefore, cessation of the fogging well, I didn't finish writing that because I really wanted to find out from you, what do you think about it first? And is it sufficient to say that cessation of the fogging is really only 6 hours, so it really would not pose a hazard to the public? So my first question is, did I capture everything that you heard from Gene Ponzi? And is this something that you still would like to move forward with? And I also we could also put in there that we are eliminating fogging. We've requested that the city parks be excluded from the fogging.
Yeah, I think it's really captures it really well, Bev. I really appreciate you doing this and going through with this. How to end it, I'm not exactly sure. I think, my impression was like the Brentwood example was like you had mentioned, if there is a detection of a pretty bad disease, then of course, that is going to is going to take over any, desire that we have not to fog, right?
Yes.
I think I'd be a little leery of saying that it's that no fogging is not beneficial or not beneficial to the entire city. I think it would say that it's currently not necessary unless a dangerous disease vector is discovered in the area. I think
Okay.
what I learned from it was that it's really the least effective and it's not needed absent any kind of real disease, threat. I don't know if any other commissioners heard it differently, but that's how I heard it. And so I'm asking myself, well, then why do we have it if it's the least effective and there's really not a reason for it at the moment? As long as there's monitoring going on. I mean,
Right,
that's
that
key.
monitoring
If
is
there's no
key.
monitoring, I mean, some ways that's what you do, right? You don't test, you just bomb everything and you assume it's going to work out. But if there's monitoring, then I don't have a problem. I don't think we're endangering the city at all, at least from what I heard. But maybe other people heard it different.
I think that's what I heard as well. The question that I would have is to perhaps flesh out a little more with the with what the monitoring process is,
Mhm. Okay,
so that people feel comfortable that
Yeah.
we're not paying lip service to it.
right. And I think also that education element, we really have to spell out that, we'd have a presentation by Gene Ponzi, but we'd also have articles in the city newsletter and then available on the city's website as well, methods to eliminate mosquitoes on your property and having a whole list of things that people could do. That graphic that Gene showed, we can put that up. The other thing that we can consider is, since Gene has offered to give a presentation to the council, if you choose to do a recommendation, it could be done on the same meeting when Gene gave a presentation to the city council.
And I think that the educational element is particularly important, because I've been working in the yard just this week. 2 neighbors have had one or the other of the companies that come in and spray for mosquitoes. So we just need to kind of, it's a long-term process. I mean, it's not something that's going to happen within the next 2 weeks, but it's something that over time we have to make people feel comfortable that the advertising, work against the advertising.
Mhm. Yeah. What's interesting is I talked this over with the Parks crew, and I learned that Leonard Perry, our senior, our park crew lead, he said he used to be the guy that drove the fogging truck for the city. And he kind of talked to me through how they did it. And he said he is so happy that he does not do that anymore. I didn't know the city
because he doesn't want to inhale the chemicals.
Yeah, he said it was pretty awful. So it's pretty awful.
So I was not at the meeting where they discussed this. I know Missy shared with me, but I did not. I didn't realize I didn't know that the goal was to eliminate for the homes and to eliminate for the parks. I thought it was just to eliminate for the parks and leave the homes as optional.
It's to the goal of bringing Gene in was we had a request from a resident not to fog our parks. So, we've taken that action. I've put the parks on the exclusion list. However,
You put it on the exclusion list based on one resident?
No, based on the information we learned from Gene Ponzi and based on our integrated pest management program that we're writing.
Okay.
But Maxine, the meeting's up online. You can listen to her presentation, and I have her slides she shared with us.
Good. Maxine, you're on mute.
That won't be the first and that won't be the last. When Missy made the report to the council, I don't know that was clear. So I will clarify that this week in my report. This coming week.
Which?
That the parks will not be sprayed this year.
Correct.
Unless.
What I did like, however, is that, and I think I read it not on Olivet's website, but on Nextdoor. Maybe it was Olivet that posted it on Nextdoor. I'm not sure who posted it, but that you could call and it gave a number if you wanted them to skip your home. And I thought that was nice because people could opt out.
That was posted by someone in an adjacent community.
No, it was for Olivet.
Oh,
I thought-
yes, well, Stephanie Todd reposted something that was posted in another community.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so Maxine, what's happening is one by one, all the cities are eliminating the fogging. So Brentwood's eliminated it, Wentzville's eliminated it.
Well-
It's, and they're not, so what's happening is people are not eliminating their vector control contract. They're absolutely keeping that. They're absolutely keeping the testing of the mosquitoes to find out, is West Nile present in the
Yeah,
community and is Zika present? So they're really looking for that. And when that's identified, then they absolutely fog in those areas. However, what we learned is that the best way to eradicate mosquitoes is to, one, eliminate where they breed. So making sure you don't have standing water around your home. So in the saucers under your plants, if you have kids' play toys that sit outside, if you have a bird bath, all these different ways that where the mosquitoes are breeding. So that's the number one way to keep them away from your home. The number two way is to use larvicide pellets. And what the larvicide does is it changes the pH of the water so that the mosquito larvae do not develop into adults. And when fogging is done, what it does is it kills every flying insect and even non-flying insects. It doesn't discriminate. It kills everything. But if you fog at 9 o'clock at night and it's killed anything that it's touched, when the sun comes up, the baby mosquito larvae now emerge as adults, and it's as if you never sprayed. So that's why they talked about how the fogging is the least effective control method. So it's really used as a last resort when you do identify a vector is there. But the bad part of the fogging is it's killing everything. It's killing the bees, the butterflies, the moths, any other insects out there. And then a lot of the animals that eat those insects are also collateral damage. So you end up losing a lot of songbirds and other things that rely on those insects, and bats and everything else.
So one thing I don't think that we've heard from in this discussion is the county
Yes.
vector control. I think that would be something that would help to reassure residents who may feel like, well, wait a minute, we've always had the fogging, or, they've always done this. So you're giving this counter narrative. But if the county is also agreeing with that, I think that would be reassuring. And
Yes,
I can't see them
absolutely.
not agreeing.
Yeah, I think you're right, because that educational component, we keep hearing is so important for precisely that reason. And when I spoke with the gentleman in charge of the fogging, and when I spoke with the gentleman in charge of the larvicide, they both reiterated the same thing. They said, yeah, fogging is not acceptable. I mean, they said fogging is not, the most effective way. And they said, they both said, people don't understand how it works. So, they really reiterated what Jean said. And what I really liked, Maxine, about Jean's presentation is that she really is an advocate for the county and for vector control. She's not saying mosquitoes aren't dangerous. She's saying that we need to use a thoughtful scientific approach and really do a better job of eradicating them. And she really is, she did it in a very non-threatening way, in a very, very easy to understand way. So it was very good.
Thank you.
But I think to Keisha's point, though, if we can get a representative, because there would be those folks that, for whatever reason, choose to believe some governmental public health folks as opposed to someone from a private not-for-profit.
Correct.
So-
Absolutely.
I also think that Jim's point of this isn't gonna be solved in 2 weeks. It could
No.
take, it could be more for next summer or I think it's gonna be a long process of education.
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the other thing that was actually really reassuring to me was when I actually got the report from what the county is doing for the city. Thankfully, it was only 6 hours. I really thought it was a lot more than that. I really thought that they were coming out on a much more regular basis. So that was very reassuring to me to see that it's that low.
I will share with you that we have beehives and I am one of the houses that when I saw that we've asked them not to spray this year because of our hives. And they not only did I leave a message, but they called me back. They wanted to have a whole conversation. They offered some different options. I still stuck with no for this round, but it was they were really very kind and very educational just on a one-on-one, oh, we can wait till later in the evening so that your bees are back in the hives. We can do this. I mean, they weren't just like, okay, you don't want it, you don't have to have it. They were kind of like really trying to say, but I didn't know they had the ability to do one house and skip another. And I thought that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. And it's easier if they skip a whole street. It's just, you can imagine the dynamics of it. So I have actually have to send them a diagram of where are the park openings are, because the parks don't have a very easy boundary. You look at Indian Meadows, this really long, narrow strip. But it's a big job. And the first call I got from them was 6 o'clock at night. They said they are getting inundated with people calling and asking them to skip their homes. So I thought that was interesting too.
So I think it would help the report if they could give you some statistics. Did this year, what percentage of our community asked them to hold off? Like, was it 25%? Was it 50%? I think that if when brought to the council, that would be good information.
Okay, and that's something that would be good at the end of the spraying season.
Right.
Yeah. Because apparently after people hear the trucks, then they get more calls too.
Right.
Yeah.
So Beverly, because Maxine brings up a good point that I hadn't considered, which is there a difference between what our charge is as a commission? So we don't want the park sprayed. That's kind of where our stuff belongs. Are we overreaching by then expanding it to the greater city? So I only asked the question because I hadn't thought of it that way. I kind of thought of it as all like one thing. But if she does go and present to the council, it would be really on the cities to ask the city itself not to spray residents, which is different than the parks. Where do we fit into that other than as an educational body or a conduit?
Well, I think that you are working on an integrated pest management program for the parks, and in the parks master plan and in the park master plan implementation, you're working on restoring native habitat, increasing the biodiversity of the parks. So it dovetails perfectly with that. What you can do as a commission is you can inform the council that this is what you're doing and it's a component of your integrated pest management program. And you can tell them that Jean's offered to give them this information, and you think it's important information for the community to have, because you're also residents. So you can advocate for the council to consider it in a larger scope.
Okay, and how would we go about doing that?
We can do it in a couple different ways. One, you can recommend that Jean give a presentation. Two, you can recommend Jean give a presentation, and you can have a recommendation associated with it where you ask for the council to consider it. You can also, you can just share with the council that this is the action we're taking in the parks, and that you advocate that there be a public information program for more residents to learn about how to eliminate mosquitoes on their property, because we know that even if the fogging continues, people are still going to deal with mosquitoes. So, I mean, it's good information for the public.
So Beverly, I'm only one vote, but say the majority voted it down if it comes up as one thing. One of the conversations, or when it's presented to the city, I think would be to say, because you want the parks passed. That's what's more important than this community as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And
it needs to be brought as there's two options. One is the greater community with the parks, and one is the parks only, maybe. But a lot of the parks, like Ville, is between two residential streets. Indian Meadows amongst, you know. these
So what that means is the only part they're not spraying is the front part of Villa along West Villa Road. So they'll still do the streets all around the park. So the park's still gonna get fogged, even though we're asking them, they're gonna skip that front strip, but the whole rest of the
But
park
you
will get
listen
fogged.
to Ed's question, if you don't want them to vote down the parks being done, then I think it should be presented as,
Well, I don't think the council's gonna vote on the parks being done because I've already skipped the parks. The parks are already skipped.
okay, and you
Don't
don't.
have to ask, we don't have to
That
ask
was a,
permission for that.
that was a city decision, correct? Not a
That's-
council
that-
decision.
That's a
Okay,
city
so the
decision.
council
Correct.
decision is only the streets?
Correct.
Okay,
And it doesn't have to go to the council. You don't have to recommend they consider it. But my understanding was from the conversation we had at the last meeting following Jean's presentation, my understanding was a lot of commissioners were going to call immediately and have their houses skipped.
Which I did.
Mhm.
okay. Okay,
So
Yeah.
if this isn't something you want to send to the council, you don't have to send it at all. It does not have to come from the Parks Commission.
Well, I think part of our charter, our purpose or whatever is to recommend good practices to the community, and perhaps going through this, the council may or may not decide to take it up. And I think the fogging at this point is minimal. I mean, we're talking about Villa and say on 3 sides there's streets, but the reality right now is there's not fogging. I mean, we don't have Zika and we don't have West Nile and we don't have that. So we don't want to create a whole level of panic, but at the same time, get people thinking about it before, because there's enough information out there, and I use the term information in quotes, that that can create panic about these little mosquitoes. People don't like them.
but don't you want to be proactive and not reactive?
Absolutely. And so, but I guess the question is, in answer to your question, Maxine, how can we best do that through the council? I'm sensitive to your thing is we don't want them to turn it down, but at the same time,
I misunderstood. I thought that we were sending it to the council for the parks as well. So if we're not, if the city was able to do that, I think it's better to have the if you wanted to go to the council, I think it's better to have the conversation before you're in it than when you're having when you're reacting to a situation. But I was under the impression when I spoke to this person with the vector that it's happening. I mean, they're coming through to fog.
They are fogging. Yes, they do fog on a regular basis. Last year was only 6 hours, but I don't know. The one thing I don't know is how they based it. And did they do the entire city? Did they only do hotspots? That's the part that I have to speak with. The next person I have to talk to is Dr. So Dr. Sayers, Jim Sayers is the next person up the chain for me to speak with, because I'm going to ask him specifically that question. But he would also be, I mean, he's in charge of the whole program. And she referenced him in her presentation, and he's, I've heard amazing things about him. I've heard he's an entomologist. He really knows his stuff, and I'm excited to speak with him.
Because one of the things I thought I asked at the last meeting was that we don't know what 6 hours equals. We're thinking 6 hours isn't a lot, but is that 6 hours with 12 trucks? You know, it's really how much of the chemical is being put out there that's really the issue. And that's what I don't know what that 6 hours equals. So I guess bringing it back around, I obviously my position is that I would like the city of Olivet to be like Brentwood and Wentzville and not spray unless there is a real reason, if there's a known disease vector in the area. I guess my question is how and what is the council's, or I'm sorry, the commission's responsibility for advocating? Is it like what Jim is saying, that, in some ways our body is charged with bringing information to the council, bringing these kind of concerns? Or should this be a separate thing? I mean, do I just go to council and I just make it an Ed Kastner thing? Or can we get Gene? I guess I don't know where to go next. And that's what I was asking you and Jim. Like, is this a future agenda item that we, need to talk through? I guess that's where I'm leaving it right now. I was just looking for some direction as to the best way to get to what I think is my goal, which is to not have fogging unless at all absolutely necessary.
Well, I am going to defer to Jim and Maxine on this.
Wow.
From the council's, from the commission's perspective, because I'm your staff liaison and I want to do what is the pleasure of the commission. So the
Okay.
parks we've taken care of, you can draw the line there and be done, or you can be advocates and inform the council and recommend that they hear from Gene and recommend there be public education. But also from a staff perspective, because I've learned all of this, I will also be talking to the city manager and the public works director to see how does the staff bring it to the council's attention as well. Because no matter what happens, whether the city continues fogging or doesn't continue fogging, I think residents need to know what they can do on their own properties that's free of charge, where they can reduce mosquitoes on their own properties.
And I would agree with you completely on that. And I think that we do need to take information to the council as a matter of record. And then also, I think we need a lot more information, because if we're talking in generalities, so for instance, if we talk to the people from vector control and get them involved with it, say, okay, here's where we're checking, here's what we're doing, here's how we're protecting your health, because this is really a public health issue.
Yes.
Both from the perspective of mosquitoes and also from whatever chemicals are used in the fogging process, let alone move away from what it's doing to the ecosystem. I mean, there's it's a multi-layered thing.
Right.
And so I think it's something that does bear a conversation. And Maxine, I would defer to you as to how you think it most effective way to do that.
I think coming from the residents would be great, or from the commission, but I think you need to have a majority of the people here tonight say they wanted to go to the commission, to the council. I think that like Bev being the staff liaison, I'm the council liaison. So I think that it's got to be the desire of the council, of this commission, if they want to take it, not my personal desire or not.
And you don't have to make a decision tonight. I can continue to bring research and I can bring it back to you next month. Not at your special meeting, but at your regular meeting.
Well,
I think we spend so much time on it, why not have people weigh in?
Yeah. So if people could weigh in, where I know Ed's talked a bit. Sue, where are you on this?
I think there's no point in us spending as much time as we do on the parks if we're not going to advocate for the city to follow the lead of what we're doing, because it impacts it, right? I mean, look at Villa. That's the perfect example. We can do what we want in the park, but we're not really getting accomplished what we set out to do if they're still fogging 3 sides of that park. Right. So I think it's an education issue, and without putting my opinion forward, I think it's our job to recommend that we educate the council, and then they in turn educate city residents to make an educated choice of what they want to do.
Okay. thank
But I don't think people even know, A, what they can do to minimize mosquitoes. B, I think people would like to know what testing's happening. And C, I think when people realize what they could impact just by doing simple stuff themselves, I think it makes a big difference.
Thank you.
That's just my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Keisha, your thoughts?
I agree with Sue. I think that the educational piece is important. But as she was talking and as we've been talking, I'm on the county's website, and everything we're talking about is on the county vector control website. Empty the standing water, giving the option to opt out of the fogging. All of that is on the county website. So I think it is the education piece that's missing. And I think for us to provide the education, even if the education is just go to the county website, you can opt out by Twitter. They have a Twitter account that you can use to opt out. So I think they're just providing that level of education and to the public, because I do not think that most people would know what chikungunya is, or that they know the effects of Zika, or what some of these other did I freeze?
You did for just a second.
Oh, sorry. So that they don't necessarily know what these are. I mean, I've sat in meetings with these with the people at the county when I worked there, and we talk about this, like, oh, so we've noticed, we're seeing an uptick in, chikungunya might be a problem. So, if I don't want us to just say don't fog,
Right.
Right.
because if there's a need to fog and then we go back and fog, people are going to be like, well, you said don't fog, what is going on?
Right.
So I
right.
think that it is that we may have to do so when necessary. That's my thoughts.
So what I'm hearing is a consensus that we do need to go to the council. I think if I can work with Maxine in terms of what the most effective approach using, with Beverly, of course, as well, but to create some kind of a presentation to say, here's what it is. How best can we inform our folks? It's a lot like if you look at the Olivet life thing this month, Bruce McGregor talked about oak tree galls and stuff. So I think it's kind of in that vein.
Yeah.
That we can do these things. So I think if
Absolutely.
So
Can we make a motion, Jim, to ask Jean to present to the council? Is that what we need to do right now at the very least?
let's see, Bev, can you put back up your discussion, that recommendation?
Yes.
page that you
Yeah.
put
Just
up,
just
that
just a
Word
second.
document?
Yeah. It'll just take a quick minute.
Yeah, I think if we can get a motion and then we'll move it along. And Maxine, I don't know how heavy the agendas are these days, or how something gets on the, I realize it's can be done as the report. Is this something we should do as a report, or is this something that's a freestanding issue?
I think it would be done as a report,
Okay,
but you can also, if well, I'll ask the city manager too, because if you'd like Jean to present to the council, it could accompany that very easily. So.
okay. So as I'm looking at this recommendation, I'm not thinking that really reflects what we've been talking about here.
Right.
The background goes into all of it, but so Ed and Sue and Keisha, what do you think in terms of what we should recommend to the city council coming out of this meeting.
I think
I
it's
think
I think it's important that they hear the three main points, right, that we heard, and how they do that, I guess, is up for debate, but that they understand that if you fog, it kills everything. So ideally you don't fog, but there are definite cases where you need to fog, and that's for public health disease reasons, right? So understanding those three things. If you go to the website, just to have one thing to that, if you go to the county website, I don't think you get that from reading that alone. Like, I happen to know quite a bit about the different diseases and the testing, et cetera, because of family members in that realm, right? But I don't think most people understand. They think fog or don't fog, right? They don't really know the whole scope that we're talking about and the impact overall. And so I think a little education goes a long way. So personally, I think the recommendation would be to have someone like Jean, who's an expert, give a real short but concise presentation that's on the record, right? And then that can be disseminated or backed up in a newsletter or something, the key points.
Yeah, and the other thing that I picked out of
I
it
would
is,
also add, I think that it's important. Sorry.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's important to add that as the Parks and Rec Commission, that we have also suspended fogging in the city parks as part of that recommendation. And that it is our recommendation as this commission that we educate the entire city on the effects of fogging. And then go into, unless warranted, increase, all of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and one of the things is, I think it's education on vector control.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
in general, what's going on, because
Yeah.
I took some notes earlier that said education, testing, minimizing habitats, and then the simple steps. I think if we can somehow pull all of that together, and Jean's probably our best bet to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And we would we had a pretty extensive conversation with her, but I'm assuming at a council level that it seems like she would be able to, that we should keep that to what, maybe 10 minutes at the most.
Yeah, I think so. And she's given presentations to other cities. I mean, so she definitely knows how to do it.
She's been there, yes.
Yeah.
So
I
what-
added the components you just mentioned into this, and I'm not saying that this is what I'm suggesting to do, but I'm saying here's some wording, and it's a starting point for you to think about how you want to do it. And I'll email this to you, Jim, and you can.
No, I see it here.
Okay.
As people are looking at that, does that capture what we've been talking about? Do we want to say something, Keisha? Do we want to put something to the end saying that the parks, as part of this, the Parks Commission exploration, that the Parks Commission has requested that the parks do not get fogging?
So I absolutely can add that to the background. When you write a report to the council, you give them you write the recommendation that you are requesting for them to
Okay, I
make
see.
a motion on. Yeah, so this
It's
would
an-
just
it's
be,
a- It's
so
an
this is,
action.
yeah, so this is what they would read. They'd say, I move that we continue to do mosquito testing and larvicide program with St. Louis County, but we suspend, so that's how they read it, and then they vote on it. So
I guess my only, my thought is I appreciate the positive spin, but I'm wondering if it needs to be more point blank, at least to satisfy me. We recommend that the city council suspend all fogging per the contract with St. Louis County, but continue, with their contract for mosquito testing and larvicide unless the insecticide fogging is warranted due to well, my point is that I think we need to state what we're wanting to state, which in my opinion is we don't want fogging if it's not necessary for a very specific disease that's been identified in the city. We want it like what Brentwood has, right? And so maybe we need to state it as simply as that, and not, because it feels a little like, okay, well, what we're saying that we want to keep doing what we've been doing, but then we're going to tweak this. But really what we're saying, I think, is we want there to be no fogging citywide unless there is this other issue. That's what I would like to see. I'd like to see language that strong and that direct. But I'm not a politician and I don't know how to, sometimes there's better ways to get things done than being direct sometimes. And I will allow for that, but that's my thought right now.
Okay.
Nearly 24 hours in.
Okay. I guess, was that directed at toward Maxine in terms of some of the
No, that was just directed to how we write the recommendation. So the paragraph that Bev is having us look at right now, I'm just suggesting that maybe from the get-go, it needs to say, our recommendation to the city council is to suspend fogging, or however we're going to word that.
suspend fogging throughout the community unless it's warranted through St. Louis County or something
Right.
like that.
We still maintain our contract in order to keep up with the larvicide and all the other aspects of it, and being able to, like Gene said, be able to opt in a moment's notice if we have an uptick in a particular disease. But I think it just needs to be very clear. What we're asking is that St. Louis County no longer fogs Olivet. Now that may be different with how other people feel about it, but that's kind of where I am. I'm not doing all this habitat restoration for all these years, to have it undone like this. It's just,
Yeah.
I think it's just so basic.
So
But I understand we need time and we need education, and I certainly know that we need to have that.
So what would happen if we said recommendation to the city council to suspend any unnecessary fogging via the St. Louis County vector control or whatever, period? And
Yeah,
then
we can do that. You can do a motion with, it could be motion 1, motion 2, motion 3. You can absolutely space it out that way.
well, and then say that it's imperative that this program be accompanied by continued mosquito testing, sort of that second part of it.
Right, right. Now,
So is that
Yeah.
is that two recommendations, or is it within the
no,
same?
it's with still one recommendation, and you write the motion and it has 2 parts. If I had a public relations hat on and you really want to be 100% successful with this, I would recommend, 1, that Gene Ponzi give a presentation to the council, and then you come in after that with your recommendation. So it's like a 1-2 punch. So at the first meeting, she gives the recommendation, so that they've heard it, they've internalized it, and then you come in with your recommendation. But that takes that's a much longer process.
Well, but sometimes if you take a little longer, you get a little better result too.
Yeah, I would also say, I think without the education piece, just going in and saying that, we're going to suspend all fogging. For a lot of people who are not educated on this topic, they're going to be like, what the hell are you doing? And I
Yes,
think
I agree
that education
wholeheartedly.
piece
Mhm.
is going to be very critical for the community, not just the council. Because a lot of people just don't know, and they haven't heard, and they don't know the side effects of the fogging. and the negative effects. So I think without the education piece, we would be doing ourselves a disservice and probably get more negative reaction than the positive that we're looking for
Yes.
without the education piece.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. And it may even be that Jean gives a presentation to the council and then gives a presentation at Coffee with the Mayor. Maybe she does a presentation to the council and then the Parks and Rec Commission does a presentation at Coffee with the Mayor, just so that you have multiple educational things going on, then a newsletter article, and then you hit them with a, hey, and what happens is as you bring the community along and the more people hear about it, they say, oh yeah, well, that doesn't make sense. Why are we spending money on it? Why are we doing that if it doesn't work? And then you get that grassroots support and the groundswell, and then it makes it much easier for the council to make that decision.
So
Can I just add one more thing to that though, Jim? I have a question for Beverly. So having said that though, is it not the council's responsibility after hearing Jean, after hearing the recommendation, to say just that, you know, hey, maybe at this time, the city is really not ready to make a decision this large without more input. We suggest maybe if, you know, to give more presentations or to do this or that, or the council could very easily say, yo, we got you. Yeah, we're going to do it right now. I mean, that would be great, right?
Yeah.
I like what you said before, that Jean comes in, she does a great presentation, and then we let the council know how the commission feels through our recommendation. Nothing in our recommendation is time sensitive necessarily. We're just saying that as a body, we are recommending basically what Jean has just explained to you, that we want to be more like a city like Brentwood in terms of how they're dealing with mosquitoes and the spray. And then, so what do you guys think? I guess that's really what I'm saying. I mean, we could do the other part, all of the different stuff, but I sometimes wonder how much of a big deal that needs to be. It almost seems like that's what the council needs to say, you know, hey, we can't make a decision yet until we've done these things. And I don't want to presume on their behalf what they may or may not want to know. I think they're going to know what we think after Jean's presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, aside from the fact that you would invite Jean to come to them. Hey,
Assuming she'll
we heard
come,
this
yeah.
great presentation. We thought it was really important for you to hear it. You know, there's another community, I think it was maybe Baldwin. You guys probably saw it on Nextdoor. They were surveying their residents and they were encouraging people to call the council and tell them, do you want to continue fogging or not continue fogging? I think I'd kind of want to avoid that situation because that can polarize people. But that is an option for communities as well.
yeah, so as we're coming around, could our recommendation to the council be that in our April meeting, the Parks Commission heard an in-depth conversation from our presentation from Jean Ponce, and we recommend that the council hear that on their own, and then we can discuss other actions.
Yes, you could do that. And it would also allow you to have, you know, you could even include in that Dr. Sayers from the county, if he's available. He could come in and he could reiterate what Jean's saying, and he could say, these are the things the county recommends you do, straight off their website. So it gives that, you know, because just as Jean in her presentation talked about the important work the county does, we want to do the same thing, because we absolutely need to stay in the vector control with the county. And we need to be very, very clear that no one's advocating to sever that relationship, that we know it's important. They're doing a valuable service and we want it to continue.
So from a perspective of the Parks Commission, what do we need to do to get Jean Ponce on the agenda of the council? Maxine, your thoughts?
Bev, if you could just send me a note and bring it up to, send me and Barbara a note. And when we meet, I meet with the mayor once a week now. and we'll see where we can put it on. It may be
Okay,
at a
sounds
workshop,
good.
it may be at a workshop, but our next full workshop will be August.
No, it could be at, one of your work sessions. It could be at a regular council meeting, just
Right.
at the beginning, a
But we
presentation.
just need to get it on the
Yeah.
calendar.
And then, once we get it on the calendar, then I think it's really important that the park commissioners attend the meeting.
Yes.
Right. Well,
Okay,
then, yeah, because you can attend a workshop but not speak. So since you want them to speak, then maybe you want it at a meeting.
well, you probably don't need people necessarily to speak. I think the fact that they're there, I think really
And
sends a big
sometimes the
message.
mayor will make it an exception and let someone speak. But yeah, and I'm actually meeting this week with Sydney and Barb on Friday. So if you
Okay.
have a chance to get it off to us this week. But then
I'll email it to you tomorrow. We don't have department head tomorrow, so I've got time in the morning I can send
Okay.
it.
Okay, great.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop my video for a minute, but I'll be right back.
Okay, and I think the other thing is we can speak as citizens as well.
Absolutely. You
So,
always can. Absolutely.
okay, from the perspective of commissioners, is everyone on that page for right now? Okay. Sue? Keisha?
Trying to get my mute off.
Okay. Story of our lives. That's the
I
that's
agree.
the 2020, 2021 thing. Is everyone on board?
Yes.
Okay. Keisha?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so
Yes.
let's move, okay. Let us move along then to the master plan implementation. There's a lot going on, and I think if we can do some highlights, Bev,
Yep,
it's
I've got
the hour is moving along.
Yep, I've got a quick report here. I'm going to go through it very quickly. So we are right here. The bid documents are scheduled to be released June 30th. We're still working towards that goal. It's a little squishy right now. It might be the following week, but we're moving towards that. So that's where we are. In the parks, we're in schematic design, and we've scheduled the public meeting for schematic design for July 29th. And that is the format's to be determined, but we're going to do it some sort of in-person way. There may also be a Zoom element. So Indian Meadows, Irveside Villa, and Stacy Parks are in schematic design phase. Now tomorrow at 2 p.m. is the deadline for the playground RFQ submission. And we've already started receiving some. So you will all be part of the review of those documents. So I'm going to go through these quick highlights, and then I'm going to show you the process for that participation. Great Rivers Greenway Centennial Greenway Phase 1, Morrison Road to Indian Meadows, has submitted 100% of their designs. That's very exciting. They will include on the July 29th meeting, they'll give an update to the community. They're also going to give an update at the Coffee with the Mayor too. The project manager, Katie Ahold, gave a terrific update to the city council at one of their last meetings. That whole PowerPoint slide deck is on the Park Project microsite, as well as the clip from the meeting of her speaking. So if you didn't attend the meeting, I strongly encourage you to go to the microsite and look at it. There's amazing information in there. Okay. We've completed all the sidewalks for the schematic design phase. The city horticulturalist, Brian Escona, went along with the design team, and then Jim Person also went the walk. So that was pretty exciting. Asbestos abatement in the existing park house prior to demolition will start tomorrow. And they say it's only going to take 1 day. So I'm very excited about that, but I'll believe it when I see it. But that's what the vendor says. Communitronics was the company selected for the audio visual of the new community center. So that's all the projectors, the speaker systems, sound systems, all of that. Advanced Exercise was selected as the fitness center vendor. So designing and selecting the machines and the equipment and the flooring for those areas. I am creating large format display boards for the community center lobby of these big schematic designs that we have of the community center and the exterior, the interior, and I'm going to be putting them up in the lobby because I really want people to be able to come in and see them. I think it's great that they're on the microsite, but you know, there are a lot of people that like to come and touch and look and feel. So those sample finishes are, I'm going to move from the city center up to the community center, and we'll be making some display boards there. And then once summer camp is finished, I'm going to push it out to the community that they're welcome to come in and touch and look and see. And the reason I'm waiting till summer camp is done is because the kids aren't vaccinated. So we're really limiting people inside the building while summer camp's going on.
Beverly,
yes?
one thing, can we put dual displays up, one at city center and as well as the community center?
We might not have the wall space at the city center, but I could do smaller, like 11 by 17s there.
Could we use easels or something like that?
Yeah, we could possibly use easels, but I am going to be, remember, as we get further, once we start the groundbreaking, those big schematic boards are also going to be at every park.
Okay.
So, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Jim, you were reading my mind.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I think there's a segment of the population that goes to the community center, and then there's a segment that go through the city center. So
okay. All right. Okay. These are the ads that I've created for the public meeting. We're not doing a direct mail, but we had it in the city newsletter. But these are going to be posters in all the parks, and we're going to do some yard signs and then do social media push out. This is option A. We're still finalizing this. This is option B. It's sort of a game to figure out what is the difference between the two. And basically, it's the logos and the colors. So we're finalizing that. These are not final. I wanted you to see them.
a question is, all of it live publishing in July?
No, it only does 4 times a year.
Okay.
So that's why we got it in that last, that's why we had to set the date before that last meeting. So now here I have for you a memo to the commission from Katie Aholt. You're going to receive this by email, and it has, what's going to happen is you're going to get a package that by PDF of each presentation from the vendors that are submitting their bids. And then she's created for you a matrix based on the RFQ that you'll fill out and submit back. And then the design team will tabulate everybody's opinions, and then the vendor selections will be made. But there will be another meeting, and that's why I'm thinking there may need to be a special meeting somewhere where you give whatever the commission decides, your final recommendations, and then it goes to the council. So I'm tentatively saying the 23rd, but because I think we're trying to get this to the council by June 29th, but I'm not sure. Maxine, have you heard? No, it would have to be the 22nd. No, I think it would have to be the first meeting in August is what I'm thinking. Does that sound correct, Maxine? Have you heard
July
that?
or August?
It wouldn't be, oh, sorry, July. What am I saying? It would be July. The first meeting in July, I believe, is what we're targeting.
Hey, Beverly,
Yes.
is there a chance, how big are these proposals?
Well, we don't know until we get them. Companies do some.
Can we get it in print format possibly?
Sure. Depending on how big it is, sure. Yeah.
So we can put them side by side?
Yes.
And the other thing that I was wondering is I know we have to make an official recommendation, but can we create a work session or something that we can have?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking about. You're having a special meeting so that you can all discuss it. And we could do it in person, and you could have everything laid out too.
Yeah, I'm thinking something, because sounds to me like it gets, I'd like to get the PDF just so I can review it, but at the same time,
Yeah. Now,
Uh,
what we've done with the other RFQs is that once they're narrowed down, we have specific vendors come in and give a presentation. So Katie's out this week. So I still I will clarify that next week to find out exactly who I'm assuming vendors. So like the audiovisual vendors both gave a presentation, the fitness vendors both gave a presentation. So I'm assuming that that's what will happen with the playgrounds.
and what's
So
the,
I'm curious, Bev, why weren't we in on those, but we're in on the playground ones?
Well, the playgrounds are a much bigger ticket item and the audio visual is very small compared to all of this.
what is the budget number on this?
For the playgrounds,
For this package?
I would have to look at the breakdown of every playground design. I remember when we looked at that draft RFP, when we were going to do the RFP, it had called out the financials. So it varies in each park, but it ranges between, I want to say 150,000 to, or maybe 110 up to 200,000, depending on what's being done and whether I think if you take the splash pad out, it goes down quite a bit in some of those, because the splash pad isn't part of this.
So we're talking somewhere between $750,000 and $1 million.
Right. So it's a much larger expense.
Whereas the communication is probably less than 100K.
Right. Yes, definitely. Significantly.
Okay. So it's a size thing.
Yeah. And also the fitness thing, you'll actually get input on the components. We just selected the vendor and we're negotiating with them the process. But then when they start giving their suggestions of what's going on, that'll come to you for sure.
Yeah, I think we just need to be a little more aware of the process. And isn't that what I'm hearing from Sue? Yeah, so, yeah, if we can do that, and so we would expect to begin to get this this week or Monday.
I'm thinking Monday, because tomorrow we open them all at 2:00, and then I believe they have to submit electronic as well as paper, and then I have to sort through it. We have to go through and make sure they meet the criteria first, that it's qualified RFQ. And then the ones that are qualified are the ones we group together and we'll send out to you. So I think me saying that we'll have a special meeting next week is not realistic. I think it would have to be the following week.
Yeah, I'm thinking that would be an aggressive schedule.
Yeah, that would be too aggressive. Exactly. Okay. And then Barb is out tomorrow. I won't be able to talk to her tomorrow, but I have pardon me?
Are you talking then about the week of the 28th?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think we'd have to. Yeah. But if it's not going on that first meeting with the council in July, then it gives you a little bit more time to read through everything. So I really want to get a better understanding of what that. Dawn, do you remember when we went through the timeline during the planning meeting, what exactly the timeline was? I did not bring that binder in with me today.
No,
I know it's an aggressive schedule, but it's not.
yeah.
I think we've got some time.
Yeah, I would say that the 23rd is.
Yeah, that's too fast.
It's not realistic.
No, it's not. No, because people have jobs. So, okay, but I will get more information. On the 22nd, I have an internal team meeting, and that is on the agenda for us to hash that out. So, but I wanted to make sure you saw all of this now, so it wasn't a surprise when you suddenly said, "Oh my God, I have to go through all of this," and we're gonna have a meeting.
Well, and perhaps as you get information from the opening tomorrow, you could maybe send out a quick update. I'm not talking about
Yeah, I can say, hey, we got 8 vendors. We'll go through, and then I'll
an
send an
email.
update.
Here's where we're going, so that we're not completely in the dark on it.
Right. I probably won't send an email out tomorrow. I could say tomorrow, I could tell you how many we received, but I won't know if they're all valid tomorrow. Because we have
Yeah,
to go through
you know,
it.
maybe a week, a Friday.
I'm thinking
Friday.
Tuesday, I'm thinking Tuesday afternoon after we have our planning meeting in the
Okay.
morning. Yeah.
Okay,
And Katie really wanted to talk this over with you. She apologized that she's out of town this week. So she's allowed to take time off though. So that's
Okay.
good. Okay. All right. That's all I have unless you
Okay.
have questions on anything else.
okay, well, given the hour, I hate to have the commissioner working groups. Has anybody been involved in a working group this month that wants to do a presentation? I think we were working on, we've been working on volunteers and it's been kind of crazy. I know Ed really stepped in on one, and we're trying to figure that out. And I think that's probably a fairly big bite for all of us in terms of working on it. But I think we're also looking at the financial viability, which includes memorials. And I know that the council has expressed an interest that we have, that we look to what some of our options are as a commission for outside funding groups. And that was coming, I think that came out of a council meeting a couple of weeks ago, that that want to see if there's some other mechanisms that we can use to supplement what's going on. Because one thing that's very clear to me from the from going through all the numbers with Prop C is with the Lawrence Group, we created a 10-year plan. There's going to be a lot done through Prop C, but there's a lot more to do. And I think if we can start looking at outside funding sources, that will work. Some of that will be grants and some of it might be private groups. So we'll continue on with that. And if you're part of a working group, see what you can do to get to meet as we can begin to go. And I realize how difficult that can be. So anything else on commissioner reports? Seeing nothing. Future agenda items, it's pretty clear what we're doing. Those are all things that are going on. If everyone could put on their calendar, if at all possible, for September 10th, one of our charters is to be the ambassadors. So I think if we can help staff and be there present, that would be really good for that.
I have another future agenda item, just to give you a heads up that we'll be going for a Muni grant for PARC amenities this grant cycle. That deadline's in August. So you will have an agenda item where you approve the grant application, and that will also go before the city council as well.
And how are we determining that? What we're asking for?
We're working with, we hired a consultant to do that. The city's consultant is working on that right now. A lot of it has to do with the phasing of the Muni grants are very specific on when you can start work and stop work and where your bidding comes in. So it will be which project aligns with the timing of that grant cycle so that we can be in compliance. So like, for example, the grant deadline's in August, you can't start the project until January. So if it's anything we're going to work on in the fall, we can't apply for it.
Okay, and what's the order of magnitude?
Well, it's a diminishing return on the amount. So since we haven't had a grant in a few years, we'll probably get maximum. It's a big formula. At the next meeting, I'll give you a report on all of it because it's a very complex, but roughly we're looking at $350,000. But the next year we apply to the next cycle, it will not be that high. It'll be a smaller amount.
Okay.
Are these projects pulled from the Parks Master Plan or
They're pulled from the actual schematic design.
from
So
the
they're-
schematic design that's already, okay.
Yeah, it's not anything new. They have to be ones that are, the city's already planned, they're funded, they have to have had public meetings on these items. They have to be part of the master plan. They can't be anything new. Because those are all points you get that you've had the public meetings, that the council's approved it, that the budget's there, that you know what it's gonna be. So yeah, it has to be one of these projects. So it'll fund something that we couldn't do otherwise in the plan. And, you know, right now, some of the items are coming in higher. You know, we discussed that some of the items are coming in higher with the estimates. So it'll allow us to fund something that'll free up dollars for something else. So, but we want to try and pick a project that's 100%. So that we aren't trying to do percentages of different projects, and there's certain things they don't allow. So there's a very clear criteria. So we're looking, it could be a splash pad, it could be a pavilion restroom, it could be something like that.
Okay. There are other items to come before the commission tonight.
I just had one question. Who is the commissioner that is not going to be rejoining us, or is there someone who's stepped down?
Well, there's someone who's asked not to continue their term when it expires. And I was hoping they would share that with you themselves, because I thought that I didn't want to do it, but the ad's already out. So, so next month will be Carla's last meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, she said she doesn't have time to continue.
Okay.
It's not you.
I know, I saw it and I was like, wait a minute, who's
Okay, it's not me.
Not me. You know, like everyone grabbed their nose.
Sorry you're not being kicked off.
Yeah, no, I was really hoping that she would tell everybody, but she's so busy.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. She brought a lot to the group, and hopefully she'll be able to be with us next month and we can say a proper.
Yes, and we're really hoping she's going to be at next month, because she needs to run the meeting next month because Jim can't be with us.
Yeah.
Wait, do we not have a meeting in July?
No, we do, but Jim can't be there.
Yeah, I'm on a trip.
Okay. I thought we used to skip the month of July.
Sometimes I thought we skipped August.
Okay, July 21st. Okay, so I do have another question. If we're doing parties in the park in September, are you just waiting to test the waters and see what the numbers do with this new variant out about October with a Boo Bash or a Harvest Festival, or we
have tentative dates for those, but I'm not advertising them yet. We need to do, we're trying to get a fall winter combined activity guide out, but we've got those dates, but I'm not ready to publicize them yet.
Okay.
Party in the park is easier than the Boo Bash Harvest Festival.
I understand. But
we also need to find out, are we going to be able to use, we don't think we can use the community center for Boo Bash, because the shipping containers will be in the parking lot with all the park equipment.
My other concern is about the children not being vaccinated, even for parties in the park.
Yeah. We totally get that. We're working on strategies for that now. CDC has guidelines for events, but what we're, because, you know, we do bouncy houses, then the kids are gonna have to wear masks to go, you know, obviously.
I would not go near bouncy houses.
Yeah. Well, no, what I mean to say is inflatables, like if they do the slide or something like that where they're spaced out.
Not during.
No, you're right. No bouncy.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So I think that we need at our next meeting, when or when you're talking about the September parties in the park, maybe we should talk about like what are some of the COVID protocols going to be, and
okay, great idea.
What are some of the things that you're looking at doing? Because I think that between the schools and the camp, and I mean, it's a different kind of crowd. People don't register
Yeah.
sign up
Yeah.
for these in the park.
Yeah, and then, yeah, Boo Bash is probably gonna have to be at Stacy Park. It'll probably look very different because we won't have parking here. Plus, then we'll already be doing grading on the field behind us for the new ADA pathway. So we won't be able to have it here. So it'll look very different. We have to figure out how we can do that.
I
And
suggest the
I think
trail.
we also have to see what the numbers are with these, with people coming back after July 4th and with the
Yeah.
variants and everything going on with the pandemic still.
Correct, correct.
Are you, Ed, did I hear you suggest a haunted trail?
Yes, ma'am. I think it would be a really, really cool thing. And it
Yeah,
could
I
be-
think so too. And we could do
Yeah.
it at Stacy, and I think it would scare the living daylights out of everybody. Just, you wouldn't even have to decorate. Just the fact that you're going down the trail in the dark is gonna, they'll be,
I was gonna say
Well-
the liability might be a bit much, but.
No, I
Well-
I see candles and I see kind of like little, I mean, it would be really
Oh, yeah.
age appropriate. It could be very fun.
we can absolutely do it. So,
And
my
Ed
very
re-
first job.
And Ed retired, so he might want to like help cheer that up.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got
There you
that right.
go.
Yeah, it would be a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
No, I think it's fantastic. My very first job working for the city of Cupertino, every year they did the ghost walk, and it was in the nature preserve on the trail, and it was the best thing. So we can absolutely do that.
Well, I know it scared the hell out of me going through there as it was getting dark and I was by myself. So I just know I never walked so fast in my life.
Yeah. So when we used to do the ghost walk, we had guides. Guides took small groups of people through, because otherwise, it would
Oh,
be
yeah.
chaos. No, it would be fan flippin-tastic. I'd love to do that.
You
Yeah, with
mean
volunteers.
park ambassadors.
Yeah.
Park ambassadors, there you go.
Before we adjourn, I think we should congratulate Keisha Lee for today with the school board on the breaking of the ground for the Ladue School project. and
Woohoo!
Old Bonham and Spady in the middle school. Did I get all
Yeah.
three?
All three of them, yeah.
Woohoo!
It had to be exhausting, and I'm really disappointed. I personally couldn't be there, but congratulations.
But
Yes.
Obama was actually the best one, if I could say that.
Oh,
Yeah.
say that.
Of
Yeah,
course
Jill
you
Shoup
did.
was there this morning. We had Mayor Clark there. I mean, the council members were there. It was just an amazing time. So it's
Good.
a very good time for the Ladue schools. And they actually started construction today. So they started tearing down parts of all the schools, I think, except for Spady on today.
Yeah.
Sydney
Who's
Clark
the
already posted.
construction firm, Keisha? Who's got the bid?
SM Wilson.
Okay.
Sydney Clark already posted pictures of him and Jill Shoup on.
I saw.
And he's having quite the month.
He
He's had
beat me to
Tory
it.
Bush.
So is he running for governor?
No.
Who hasn't he met with? Because, he went to the big meeting where the new mayor of the city of St. Louis spoke.
know.
So we met her a couple weeks ago, Cory Bush, and now he met Jill Shoup.
Yeah,
But-
so
but Jill
where's
Shoup-
he headed next?
Exactly. That's what I want to know.
Fred
And
Bird.
he had a personal relationship with everybody. Tashara Jones, apparently he knows pretty well. So then he's got the Cory Bush connection. Who doesn't he know?
Cory Bush was very personable with us. I mean,
She really was. She was
Yeah.
amazing. She was engaged. She asked really great questions. We found out she went to the Saints,
she skated at Saints Roller Rink.
Of course she did.
and so did her chief of staff.
So did I.
Yeah.
Every
Okay.
Saturday.
Okay,
We
you
all
guys,
did.
just to delay you a little bit longer, do you want to hear the secret that Kiana and I are working on? Are you guys familiar with StoryCorps?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so StoryCorps is this thing where people record memories on a specific topic, and they're housed in the National Archives, is it? Something.
Library of Congress archive.
Library of Congress. Okay, so modeled on that, we're doing Saints stories. So we're applying to a grant to the Humanities Council, and even if we don't get the grant, we're doing it anyway. I've already designed a website, And we're writing the criteria. We're not releasing it wide scale to the community until we have a criteria and a framework, because we know we're going to get inundated.
You want stories and pictures.
Yes, so
Oh,
we're
it's
gonna
be amazing.
people are gonna share their stories. Like, for example, the man who owns the JanPro franchise that takes care of the community center, Tony, amazing guy. He and his wife, Michelle, met at Saints, and they now have 4 grandkids. They're still married, and he's
So we're talking the ice rink, the Saints, or the roller rink, or both?
Well, so we found out something interesting. So I've been searching and searching and searching, trying to find information on the ice rinks. So, and I couldn't find anything. And I found one tiny picture that the city had, and it turns out the ice rink wasn't called Saints.
It wasn't.
It was called Twin Rinks. Once I knew that, I was able to find all the information. And guess what? The ice rink was open for less than 2 years.
No, it was open longer than that.
No, it was not. It failed financially, and that's why it converted to skating.
The roller
Really?
skate was more fun anyway.
And so
Oh,
it had twin, it was
really?
2 rinks. And get this, you guys, look what else I have. I found this.
Hold it up higher.
Can't see what the heck it is.
It's the same, it's a building. It's a picture of Saints Roller
Stop,
Rink.
stop
No.
sharing your screen.
It's
It'd
the
be bigger.
architect's rendering before they built
She's
it.
moving too much.
You guys can come to my office and see it, but I'm gonna get it reframed. We're gonna put the Saints Stories website on it, and that's gonna hang in the new community center so that people can come. They put their phone up to it, and it'll take them right to the website, and they can listen to the stories and see the picture of the people. So I think Corey Bush is gonna give us a story. And I think Keisha Lee is gonna give us a story.
I got lots of stories.
Awesome. Awesome. Can't wait. And then we also found out Dion and Jay, who own Revive Janitorial, who has our contract. They also went there when they were young. I mean, everybody we meet has a Saints story. So that's why I think this is going to be so awesome. I'm so excited. I just can't contain myself. I'm so excited. It's going to be amazing.
Great.
So that's why we got to keep it under our hat, because we know the minute we release that we're doing this, we're going to get inundated. We got to set up a special email address. We have to set up a special phone line. It's going to be crazy.
So much for a public meeting.
This is not a recorded meeting.
I know, it's okay. It's okay.
I know.
Yeah.
Are there other items? That's exciting. Okay, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I motion we adjourn.
Second,
All in favor, say aye and wave goodbye.
Who was the second?
me, Keisha.
Keisha, thank you. Rich,
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good
Take
night.
care.
Night.
I will see you.
Beverly, can I ask a question before we go?
Yes.
Hi, when everyone goes, yes.
Okay, let me stop recording. Oh, it's already stopped.
No, it's still recording.
Oh, wait, hang on.
Okay.